We are going to see here how we are going to create a small .NET Core application and what are the things which you need to do that. Up till now, if you have been creating .NET Framework applications, then .NET Core, which is .NET 5, .NET 6, and so on and so forth, is slightly different. In fact, it's quite different. One being that it's a multi-platform targeted framework. It's called a framework only, .NET Core, basically. So you have .NET framework up till now, which you have been using is a .NET 4, .NET 4.8, 4.72, 7.1, like that. So for that application, you have this option. When you have to create a new project, you have Windows Forms App .NET Framework. This is the one used. Or if you want to create a class library, then you have a class library .NET Framework, right? But for .NET Core, that is .NET 6 or any other, you select class library like this from here, where you don't have mention of .NET Framework in the brackets. Similarly, you have Windows Forms app. There is no mention of .NET Framework in the bracket. So this Windows Form app will be of .NET Core. So if you just select this and say next, I have selected some location and given a name. So you can just give a name, first project, Windows application. So this is one where we just select next. This is a, you can see here, this is a C# Windows desktop application. Now here, as we had mentioned that this also is a framework. You want the .NET Core framework or .NET 5 or .NET 6 or .NET 7, and maybe when you see this video later on, you will have .NET 8, 9, 10, like that, right? So this is a .NET. Now here it says out of support. So probably this is the life cycle which has got over for this version of .NET Core. Then you had .NET 5, which is also actually .NET Core, but it's called .NET 5, right? After 3.1, you have .NET 5, .NET 6, .NET 7, and .NET 6 is a long-term support, and .NET 7 is a standard term support. So you have long-term support, you have the support given to it for a couple of years, and then .NET 7.0 is less number of years. So this is an alternative thing, that is .NET 6. After .NET 6 you have .NET 7, which is a standard term support. Now after .NET 7 they're going to come with .NET 8. That will be a long-term support. So it's alternative. So you have .NET 6, .NET 7, .NET 8, then you have .NET 9 when they come out, it will be a standard term support. Then .NET 10 when they come out with, when Microsoft comes out with, that will be a long-term support, right? So you can select whichever you want to. Right now I'm selecting .NET 6 long-term support, and I say create. This takes a little time. Okay, now we have the form shown here. Now this is exactly like you had it in .NET Framework 4.x, the forms and everything, because this is a Windows application. .NET Framework 4.x and all, they were not for multi-targeting, multi-platform targeting. They were just for Windows itself. So you have this Windows application in .NET Core also. it's the same, the Windows form, only that the libraries are different, right? Secondly, libraries are different. That is, the libraries which are being used are .NET Core libraries. Now here, if you go to see in this project, if you double click here on the project, you can see here it says it's a WinExe application. That is the output type. Then the target framework is .NET 6.0, it's Windows, and the rest we'll be seeing later on, as and when we get to it. So if you select a Windows application, it says .NET 6.0 Windows. Now, when you have a .NET 6.0 Windows as the target framework, you cannot use this in a multi-platform targeted application. So, so this is it. If it was just .NET 6.0, which is in case of class library, then you can use it as a targeting different platforms, right? So when it's Windows, it doesn't give you that option. It's only for Windows. And thirdly, here an important thing is use Windows Forms. So if you look at this, this is Windows Forms is equal to true, because we have Windows Forms here, right? That's the reason we are able to use Windows Forms and controls. So here, if you go to see in the dependencies, in the frameworks, if you look at it, you have .NET Core application and Microsoft.Windows desktop app, Windows Forms. This is the one. Now here, remember one thing, that in .NET 6.0 or .NET Core applications, everything is in the form of NuGets. Nuggets are there. So here, this is a framework mentioned here. Nuggets we'll be doing later on. Here, if I see, if I just, in this is the CS_proj file of the application which is being opened. If you look at this, it shows the CS_proj file path. Now, if I just remove this use Windows Forms and I just save it, you look at this, the Windows Forms in this frameworks goes away, and you get a bunch of errors saying that it's not found and all that. Various things which are related to forms is not found. So if I just add it again here and save, saving is important. So the moment you save, it does all the calculation. So if I save it, if you look at it, Microsoft Windows Desktop Windows Forms has appeared again. So this is how the basic functioning of a new project in .NET Core, .NET 5, 6 and all is done. So then the form is the same if you look at that, like you had it in .NET Framework. Okay, a thing which has to be noted here is that the Windows Forms is just the same as it was. If you look at this Windows Forms, if you look at the code, it inherits from the class form, right? But in this case, the class form, unlike the .NET Framework 4X and all that, unlike that, in this case, if you go to where it is version 6020, right? Which, if you go to look at it, is the .NET 6.0 system Windows Forms.dll. That's what it's mentioning here. System Windows Forms.dll. If you look at the file which is being mentioned here, and it's in the .NET 6, right? And these are basically installed in the software development kit or with Visual Studio itself, all these DLLs. So, and then various things are in the form of NuGets packages, which we'll be discussing later on. Uh, the NuGets, how they're going to be used. Right now, if you go to see the forms, is what we had just mentioned. It's exactly the same in .NET Framework 4x, 4.x and all that. So it's basically the same, right? Only that the libraries are available in .NET 6 DLLs rather than .NET 4.x related DLLs or assemblies. So that's just about it for today. Thanks for watching.